I went to Juanita and Kim at the end of the day yesterday and asked them, how did it go? Because it was so quiet in state office. You thought it was the weekend. And here's what Kim said. It went well without any event whatsoever. No problems at all. Clinics did really well. They got their download. Everything is working normal. There was just one session termination the whole day. There were no questions on the phone regarding the version, speed, nothing. Later, Juanita said there was a little bit about certification end dates with the new mid-certification with the new child cert for 1 year. That was it. So a big congratulations to all of the clinics for downloading so successfully and for us having a smooth rollout. It's huge. It's really huge to us and to you too. I think it could have been bad, but it wasn't. So what is planned for today? Today you're going to learn how to apply coaching strategies when performing nutrition assessment and nutrition counseling, strategies to help parents increase their child's physical activity. We're going to learn about early childhood obesity prevention messages and also recent happenings in the recently created Wellness Champion system. So if you'll open your packet to the agenda. This morning, Nora Lynch will present ways to increase participant engagement. She will present information, and then we're going to break into small groups. We'll do this twice with our morning break in between, and then we'll do a second set. Then we'll break for lunch. Darlene Blackford opens the afternoon with her presentation, All the Right Moves. We'll take an afternoon break, and then Tracy Miller will finish our day with Moving Obesity Prevention Head and Wick. Notice at the bottom of the agenda is information on how to complete the evaluation for today's workshop. The evaluation is only available electronically, either through the link or by scanning the QR code using your smartphone. Also in your packet is your very own Wick pen and a lanyard, a page for notes, and then lots of different supporting materials for today's presentation. And everything in your packet is available on the Colorado WIC website if you need to print more copies. You should also have a copy of the latest version of the Rights and Responsibilities that was effective starting yesterday. Feel free to recycle the ones that you were using before and just use this one now. And this hard stock copy is now available on the materials order form. I want to make one other mention before we get started. This is a rather large announcement that we're just thrilled about at State Office. And Colorado achieved a 6.6% increase in the number of fully breastfed infants from 2011, which was 11.2%, to 2012, 17.8%. This is 2.4% greater than the next ranked large state agency in the country. And because of this, Colorado was the only state in the country, state agency. I think an Indian tribal organization also received an award, but we received a sizable breastfeeding award this year, around $560,000. And it needs to be spent in 1 year. It needs to be spent by September 30th, 2014. It's going to be used to strengthen our breastfeeding promotion and support activities even more through projects we're just exploring. Jenny will be discussing projects with the breastfeeding coordinators in early September, and Jenny and Aaron will be doing the same thing with the breastfeeding peer counselor coordinators in September. So We've got to spend this money. We've got to spend it fast. There's going to be a lot of discussion involving everybody, how to spend this money to support breastfeeding efforts. So I would like to give all of you a round of applause, or give yourselves a round of applause for working so hard towards breastfeeding initiation. This is absolutely great work, and it reflects the great work that you've done. So thank you so much. So that just about covers it. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Nora Lynch. During Nora's professional life, she has been a high-risk counselor twice at the Denver WIC program, and in between, she became a certified well coach. It's the blending of life coach skills and the everyday realities of working with WIC that forms the foundation for this morning's presentation. May I present Nora Lynch.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm really happy to be here. And I know it's early. I would love to hear all of your voices. Let's wake up a little bit. So how about if we say good morning to the live stream folks, all of our WIC folks who aren't here with us in the room. How about if we just say good morning to them all together? How's that? Good morning, live stream. All right, great. So I may need 3 hands. We'll see how this goes. Okay. So what we'll be talking about this morning is increasing WIC participant engagement and confidence with appreciative inquiry. And I know that appreciative inquiry is not a word that many of you have probably heard about before, but by the end of this 50 minutes you'll be very familiar, and I think you may be fans, maybe not quite as much as I am a fan at this moment, but that will come. And we're just doing a few logistical things here with slides. All right. So, and it does take 15 seconds for those slides to move. So the talk today is going to be about all of those things that you see, all those brightly colored words on the slide. But really what this morning is going to mean to you is, how can I get mom engaged and talking? How can I help her connect to health ideas and goals that she really cares about? And how can I help her walk out of the WIC clinic feeling motivated and confident to do what we talked about in the WIC appointment? Did you do that? Now that may sound like we're all about to become magicians, right? How is that going to happen? Well, appreciative inquiry is the way. So our WIC participants can be challenging, we know that. And some of the things that are going on include, they walk in the door and sit down at your desk, and they're often distracted or resistant or not engaged. Their focus can be on problems. The bus was late, and that's why they were late to the WIC appointment. Or they have a toothache, and they need to figure out how they're going to get in to see a dentist. This isn't just true of our WIC participants, though. The fact is that the human brain is designed to focus more on problems and issues because there's a lot of survival value to that. If we could remember back thousands of years ago when a problem happened and we survived it, then we'd have a much better chance of avoiding it or surviving it if it happened to us again. So human brains just don't notice the good stuff as much. Human brains tend to focus on problems. Another characteristic of our WIC participants that we really need to take note of is that they may have poor self-efficacy. And what does that mean? I know the first 10 years people said self-efficacy to me, or I read about it, my mind just went blank. Very simply, self-efficacy is that feeling that we have that we can make a difference in our life, that we can be successful. And so we know, because of all the things, all the bad things that can happen to our WIC participants, that they may not have that feeling. They lack that confidence that they can make something happen or be successful. And really, they can be overwhelmed by difficult things in life. And that makes it hard when they come and sit in front of your desk, doesn't it? And you want to talk to them about nutrition education or a referral you think would be great for them. And what happens? Right? it doesn't seem like it's a teachable moment because of all the stuff that is going on. And so we're going to learn today how to create our own teachable moments with appreciative inquiry, and we're going to learn how to give our participants a little bit of a confidence boost with this technique. So when you think about that children's story that talked about, what was it, the little engine that could, I think I can, I think I can. A lot of times when our WIC participants walk into your office, their refrain is, I think I can't, I think I can't, and we're going to change that. So I wanted to give you a little bit of information about some of the results from the 2013 Regional Training Survey, and I wanted to thank all of you. I was told that it was a very good response, and so we really appreciate your taking the time to answer these questions. I'm going to highlight the first and the last items here on this slide. So almost 2/3 of you indicated that dealing with difficult participants is one of the hardest parts of your job. And again, another roughly 2/3 of you answered yes or true to, I get frustrated because I want to help my WIC participants, but I can't, or they won't let me. And that is really what this training is going to address this morning. So the training isn't just about your WIC participants, although they're going to benefit a lot from what you learned today, but it's also about you. Because I know you work at WIC, you ladies have big hearts, and you really want to help your participants. And I know because of what I've seen in the clinics, because of the ways that you answered on the survey question that we just looked at, that it bothers you when you can't reach your participants. It's frustrating when you know you have some information that's really going to help them, but you can't quite get them to listen or to engage with you in the WIC appointment. So today is also about you, and it's about learning some more techniques and ways to see how you can reach difficult participants, and also to see how your experience of your job may change as you use these techniques and find that you can reach more and more of your difficult participants. So why am I the person telling you this? In order to explain that, I need to tell you a little bit of a story. I've actually worked at WIC twice. I started early in my career in the 90s. I worked for WIC for a couple of years, and then I came back and worked at WIC for another year last year in 2012. And the first couple months that I was working last year at WIC, again for the second time, I was just having such a good time, I have to tell you. I was having really great interactions with my participants. I was going home feeling energized instead of exhausted. And I was kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop because I remembered what it had been like when I had been at WIC the first time. And I remembered dealing with difficult folks and having these conversations that I felt didn't go well. Almost on a daily basis, maybe 1 or 2 folks every day. And by the time I got to Friday, after that first year or so of working at WIC, I remember sometimes I would be feeling a little bit of a mini burnout because I tried my best and I really wanted to help, but I hadn't known how to reach some of these difficult folks. And so I was waiting to see when is that going to start happening again, right, when I was working for the second time at WIC last year. And at about the 4th or the 5th month, I realized, you know what, it is not going to happen because I am different now. I'm using different counseling and coaching techniques, and it's just not the same. And the thing that changed between the first and second time that I worked at WIC is that I did a 3-month intensive coaching and wellness program. And I learned dozens and dozens of different communication techniques. And then I worked for a couple years as a health coach and used them every day. So by the time I got to WIC for the second time, they were second nature. I didn't even realize I was using them. I went months and months and months not realizing that I was doing anything different. But the difference that I saw was amazing. I had WIC participants, not every day, not every week, but every so often, I'd have a WIC participant shake my hand, or I'd get a hug. And I seemed to see so many of my participants smiling and walking out the door feeling positive that really had not been happening the first time I worked at WIC. I could tell you that probably I could count on one hand the number of WIC participants that I felt I hadn't reached. That I was really frustrated. I wish I'd done a better job in the whole of last year in 12 months. And the previous time I'd worked at WIC, that was happening on a weekly basis, right? At least 5 every week. And now 5 in a whole year. So that's why I'm here today. I want to show you those techniques. One of the big ones is appreciative inquiry, and that's what we're going to focus on now. And then we're going to look at a special kind of motivational interviewing, which is called change talk, as well as a few other things after the break. So that's why I'm here, and I think that you're going to see that not only do your WIC participants begin to have a better experience as you practice these techniques, but you are going to have a different experience as well of your job. Because it just feels good to reach more and more of your participants, doesn't it? So, communication strategies. And what's missing? We know that telling someone how to do something is not enough to get them to change. Oh, those were great times 15 years ago when educators thought that's all we needed to do. Folks don't know what to do, we'll tell them, they'll change, right? They'll do healthier things. Well, that didn't work. So then the focus became on motivation. And motivation is something, of course, that participants need in order to make changes. But that isn't enough either. A person can know what to do, they can know that they want to do it, and they still don't make the change. So what's the missing piece? The missing piece is the confidence to do it. So you can have a WIC participant who you've talked to in a couple of appointments about how to make a particular change. She may even want to do it, but if she comes in your door feeling like she doesn't really have the ability to be successful at things, she really hasn't made a difference in the past, right? Bad things still keep happening. She may not attempt that change because she doesn't have the confidence to go ahead and start it. And that's what we're going to help her with right now. So appreciative inquiry, kind of a long word. What does that mean? Inquiry, being curious, asking questions. Appreciative, we're curious and asking questions about things that we appreciate, good things, successes. So really, all appreciative inquiry is asking questions about success. The things that I like about it include, it works in nearly all situations. You don't need to figure out what stage of change someone is in. You don't need to figure out if the participant is the right kind of participant for this technique to work. It works with everybody. You'll see the magic with participants who you before have thought of as more difficult to work with, but it also works with participants who are great, who are already motivated, who are already positive. It just gives them a little extra boost as well. So you really can't go wrong here, and you don't need to figure out who is going to benefit. You can use this with everybody. It's very simple, and we're going to look at this a little more in just a minute, but all you need to think about is that your job title is going to start to include being a success detective. And we're going to practice what that is in a minute or two. But imagine, as you walk into the WIC clinic every morning, another little piece of your job is to be a success detective and help your WIC participants think about and talk about a success that they've had. Appreciative inquiry increases engagement. It increases receptivity. It generates positive energy. Why do we care about that? Well, engagement, we need our participant to be engaged if we want her to follow up on that referral that we gave her. We need her to be engaged so that she gives you some complete answers when she talks about how breastfeeding is going or what's going on with snack time with her 4-year-old. If she's not engaged and she's giving you one-word answers, you're not able to get that information you need, right, in order to give her the best referrals and nutrition education. Receptivity, so important when we want to do a piece of nutrition education. If mom is distracted, if she's thinking about a problem that happened the day before, if she's looking at her phone, right, if she's ignoring us and playing with her child, she's not going to be listening to that nutrition education message, is she? And so engagement and receptivity, so important. And I also wanted to highlight the benefits for you, because again, this morning is about you as well. It's not just about your WIC participant. This technique is fun to do. And you won't notice that the first or the second time you do it, because when we try new things, it's always a little awkward, right? But if you keep going with this, after a couple of weeks, you'll notice that it really is a lot of fun, and the appointment is just more enjoyable when you and mom talk for a moment or two about a success that she's had. You also may notice that this technique starts creeping in to your private life outside of work. It works so well. Just as I wasn't aware that I was doing these things for several months after starting that WIC job for the second time, you may notice one day, oh my gosh, I just used appreciative inquiry with my spouse or my boyfriend or my child, because it works really well and it's fun to do. And finally, you may find that you are reaching more of your WIC participants and helping them be more successful, and that feels good because of the kinds of people that you are. So now I want to think for just a moment about why we have conversations with our participants. Why do we talk to them? And why do we want them to talk to us? So of course, we always have that wanting to create a connection, creating a rapport. That's very important. But the primary business reason that we have conversations and talk to our WIC participants is to get information from them so that we can verify that they qualify, that they can be on WIC, so that we can get that complete picture and figure out what would be the best referral to make. Do we need to modify the food instrument? Where might we want to go with nutrition education? So primarily, we are talking to our WIC participants so that we can gather information and personalize the WIC appointment for them and do our job. So I want to introduce a new reason to talk to our WIC participants. And this new conversation that I'm going to suggest that you begin having with them is to introduce a certain type of content that has to do with talking about success, and to help them talk about that so that you can spark an internal transformation in them. So you can see how different that is. Mostly now we talk to WIC participants so that we can get information from them, personalize the appointment, and do our jobs as well as we can. But this new type of conversation, and it is not one that will replace the other kind of conversation. We still need to do all of that. This new type of conversation may only take 2 minutes in a WIC appointment, but it's huge because it helps spark a transformation in your WIC participant so that she can feel more confident, more successful, and really better about herself. So let's look at that in a little more detail. And this is where I need my 3 hands. All right. So we're going to focus here on the left-hand side, which is appreciative inquiry. And again, we talked about what that means. That's just being curious and asking questions about success when we talk to our WIC participants. So what we want a participant to do then is to talk about success, and that will stir in her or spark in her feelings of pride, confidence, and energy. In the office, you'll see that she's more engaged, she's more receptive to your health messages, and she'll leave the office feeling energized, empowered, and ready to act. So I think you're getting the picture now that we want mom or dad to talk. It's not what we say to mom. For the purposes of this kind of conversation, we need mom or dad to talk. And we're going to focus on the left side here of the slide, which is appreciative inquiry, and then you'll see the slide again later when we talk about the motivational interviewing. So the appreciative inquiry, talking about her success to increase her confidence, what does it sound like? So you might hear your mom or your dad, your WIC dad say, oh, that's right. Last summer, we were at the park all the time playing, and she did eat her supper, her dinner so well after that. Or you ask a question, and then you hear, oh yeah, she did eat those fruits and vegetables really well when I made that yogurt dip to go with them. So we are going to be asking mom a question to help her talk about a success. So now let's take a moment and imagine what it's like to be a success detective. So I want you all to imagine that you're starting a new job tomorrow, and the only thing you do in this new job is to talk to people and to help them remember and talk about their success. What would that be like? That's your job. You walk around, you talk to people, you help them refocus from all the day-to-day problems and distractions, and to start to think about and talk about a success they've had. So how do you do that? You ask a question, then you look or scout for positive feeling, pride, satisfaction, everything a person feels when they've done a good job. So I'm going to now read 4 questions, okay? Imagine this is your job. Now, you talk to people, you help them find success in their life, you help them talk about it. And I want you to take a moment and answer these questions in your head as I read them. I'm going to pause after each one. Just think a little bit about what the answers would be, okay? So the first one is, what does it feel like to have a job like this, where you are helping people think about, remember, and talk about a success they've had in their life? What does it feel like to have this job? How can you tell if that person you're talking to feels proud of what they've done? How can you tell if they're actually having a feeling about that success, that pride, that happiness? You're looking at them. It's your job to keep asking them questions and talking to them until they feel this pride and this confidence in this success they've had. How can you tell that you got it, that you're there? How do you think you're being useful to them? How is it useful to another person to have someone help them remember and talk about success? And what do you think is fun about this job? Does this sound like a good job? Does this sound a little better maybe than handing out parking tickets, for example? I want to return to that second question because I think it's so important and give you a couple of answers to that one. So how can you tell if someone feels proud of what they've done? Because we're all going to be looking for this when we're using this technique in the work clinic. Does anyone want to respond? You don't have to. How can you tell if someone's feeling proud of something they've done?
More eye-to-eye contact, more relaxed.
Beautiful, perfect. More eye-to-eye contact, more relaxed.
Smiling maybe.
Yes. You see a lot of smiles as you start to use this technique. You bet. When they talk, they have more energy in their voice, right? They're no longer looking at their phone. They're looking at you, that eye contact. Okay, great. Okay, so let's look at what are the qualities of a success detective. Curious, very important. We know that this whole process starts by asking a question, and I'm going to show you in just a minute or two what those questions look like. So we ask questions, and then there are 2 really key things you need to know. One is that we need to pause. We ask the question, we need to pause, and this is not only so they can think of an answer, but it's also to allow them to start to have that feeling of pride as they remember their success. I'm going to ask all of you to consider counting to 5 in your head after you ask the question. This is the hardest thing to do, even for people who are professional coaches who've been doing this for 10 years or more. It's so hard to wait, that awkward silence. It feels like an hour, doesn't it? And I know that you're busy and you feel like you don't have a lot of time in the work appointment. These 5 seconds you cannot live without, okay? This is where the magic happens, all right? So the pause, really important. I'm going to return to that in a little bit. You also need to be sure that you're listening with your full attention. We all have had an experience where we're trying to tell a good friend something important, we're excited about it, and then we catch them looking at their phone or maybe glancing at the TV or something, and then how do we feel? That transformation, that positive feeling, it just goes away, right? It's gone. So when you're using this technique, these couple of minutes, and this may only take 2 minutes in the work appointment, but these are the 2 minutes that you want to make sure that you're looking at your participant, you're not putting notes in the computer, you're not looking for a nutrition education pamphlet, okay? Because if your participant is starting to talk about success, which is not comfortable, right? We're not used to talking about success as adults. Mostly people ask us about things when we mess up. So it's not comfortable. Your with participant starts to talk about success. She catches you not looking at her. You shut down the process. We don't get the transformation that day. Okay. All right. Another characteristic of a success detective is being positive. And I think that's very clear as well, that we do not start by asking about what's a problem, what's going wrong, right? This technique specifically is intended to help your participant remember success, so we want to ask about something positive as success. And remember, it's not just about your participant talking about the success. We need her to feel that feeling. And so when we ask the question and she starts to talk about success, we want to make sure that we do something to magnify the feeling or to ask her, how does it feel as you tell me about this success? It's the feeling, not just the talking. And then finally, very important, a success detective always believes in her or his participants. So if they can't think of a success with your first question, and you'd be surprised how many can. When I started doing this, I thought, boy, I bet this is going to be really hard. I bet I'm just not going to, I'm just going to get a blank stare. Mom isn't going to tell me anything. A lot of moms will tell you about a success. You just need to give them a minute because they're not used to anyone asking about it, okay? So we don't take no for an answer. We believe that every person has a success story in there somewhere. So let's look at don't take no for an answer. We have lots of places to look for success. And most of you are only going to need the present because, 90% of the time you're going to get an answer with the first question. But I wanted to show you all the places that you can go to look for success with your WIC participant. So here's a good example of an appreciative inquiry question for the present. So what are you doing to help Ben have a good appetite for meals? That's a present question, right? What are you doing right now to help Ben have a good appetite for meals? And then what do? We pause. We wait, even though it feels uncomfortable. Now, most of the time, Mom will give you an answer to this question, but if she doesn't, you can look to the past, and you would ask something like this. Can you remember a time when Ben was eating well? What were you doing then? What was different? And then we pause. So this is very, very unlikely, but just so you don't feel you're left hanging, what if Mom says, oh my gosh, mealtime's a disaster, Ben never has an appetite, he never has, there's no past example of a success. This doesn't happen. But what if it did? So then you can have Mom talk about what she wants to happen. So it sounds like mealtime isn't going the way you'd like. Tell me what you want mealtime to be like. And then Mom can talk about what she wants to happen. And again, this process of her talking about a present success, something that worked in the past, or something that she wants to happen in the future, it's all very energizing and it helps build her confidence to actually do some of these things. I'm going to give you just a quick little trick or tip right now too. You'll find a lot of times when you ask moms what they want to happen, again, you may not get an answer, but moms always know what they don't want to happen. All you have to do is flip it over, right? Okay, so let's see. You are really unhappy because, so let's say Mom says, Ben never sits down, he doesn't eat his vegetables, and he asks me to fix him something else 30 minutes after dinner's over, right? So then all you need to do is flip it. So it sounds like you'd be pretty happy with mealtime if Ben would sit down for at least 15 minutes at mealtime, he'd eat vegetables some of the time, and he'd have enough of an appetite so you didn't have to fix him something after the meal was over, right? So that's just a little tip or trick. Anytime Mom's talking about stuff she doesn't like, all you need to do is flip it around, and that's what she wants to happen. So we've looked in the present, we can look in the past, or we can have Mom talk about what she wants to happen next, if nothing good is happening right now. So now let's look at, in more detail, at an appreciative inquiry question. So you really get a sense of what they're all about. And I'm going to give you more examples in just a little bit. So here's a good one. What do you enjoy doing to help your child be active? And you can see that a question like this is going to link two things. It's going to link mom or dad's action or decision with a positive health outcome. So you can see how this could increase mom's confidence, right? Because in the question, you're linking something she does with a good outcome for herself or her child. So that's going to help build her confidence, isn't it? I also wanted to show you a couple of other types of questions that you see on the nutrition assessment, just so you didn't have to go back to your desks and start using the nutrition assessment and then be thinking, wow, this is different from those questions Nora was showing me, and have to figure it out for yourself. So I'm going to explain right now how are they different on the nutrition assessment. So that first question, I think all of you recognize, what types of activities does your child enjoy? This is a question that moms love to answer. We get more responses, don't we, to this question than some of the other ones on the nutrition assessment? And that's because it has positive framing. When you ask this question, mom will light up. It helps her get in touch with a positive moment. But it is not an appreciative inquiry type question because it doesn't ask mom to think about her own success or impact on that behavior. You see the difference? So this question is not asking mom to think about, what do I do that helps my child be more active? Right? That's how it's different from appreciative inquiry. The second question, you'll see a lot of questions like this on the nutrition assessments. How is it being a new mom? How is breastfeeding going for you? And I just wanted to point out, these kinds of questions are really important. We still want to ask them. We want this information because you need to get the whole picture, don't you? To know what's going wrong as well as what's going right, so you can help mom, so you can get her referrals, so you can get her to see the high-risk counselor if you need to do that. So these questions are very important. They allow us to hear the positive and the negative, right? But again, they're not appreciative inquiry questions. So that should, I think, help you sort through the different kinds of questions that you use a lot at WIC. These questions are here to help gather information, right? So you can personalize the appointment, give mom the right referrals, identify the nutrition education that'll be best for her, right? But they are not appreciative inquiry, and we want to give mom the chance to talk about that success, right, so that she can have an internal transformation and build her confidence. Okay, there's a lot going on here. I want to highlight a couple things. Number one, the blue areas, the pause. I cannot emphasize enough, this is the critical piece. The question and then the pause. We need to allow mom to think of an answer and start to connect with the feelings as she remembers the details of that success. The next thing I want to point out is that all you have to do is in pink. You have to ask the question, and then we're going to talk about affirming to amplify the feeling in just a minute. That's all you do. All that other stuff up there is happening inside of mom. This is that transformation that you don't see. So I wanted to put this up here so you could really get that something is happening inside of mom, a transformation, when you ask this question. So remember at the beginning we talked about how a lot of the times our WIC participants come in and they're distracted and they've had a rough day or they've had a rough week and they're thinking about all that other stuff. And so we want to go ahead and ask an appreciative inquiry question so that mom can refocus from all that trouble and all that distraction and really be present in the appointment, right? And start to think to relive a present or past success. And when she does that, and when you pause and give her that time, she's going to start to feel some self-confidence. She's going to feel more energy. It's exhausting, right, to spend all your time thinking about problems and difficulties. When we think about a success we've had, we feel more energy. And then you're going to want to go ahead, because we're not really used to talking about success, and most of us are shy. And you'll find when you ask this question, appreciative inquiry type of question, mom will say one thing. It'll be one sentence, one phrase. She will not go on talking your ear off about her success. All right? Because human beings aren't used to talking about success. So what you need to do then is you need to help amplify that feeling. She's just starting to feel a little bit of pride. We need to do one more thing to help amplify that feeling. So what would affirming to amplify the feeling sound like? So mom's telling you about her success, and you say, that's great. I can see how energized talking about that makes you. Or, what a great idea. Look what a difference that made to your son. Or, wow, how did it feel when he was eating his meals so well? Or you might say, I wish I could get my other WIC moms to do that. Or, do you mind if I share this idea with some of my other WIC moms? I think it would really help them. Boy, does that make mom feel good when you say something like that. How did you decide to do it? Tell me more. Get mom talking more about this. And as she does, as she sees you support her and amplify that, she will start to feel that pride and confidence more and more, and that's what you're going for. Tell me more. I put that by the magic wand because it is magic. If you remember, none of these other possible ways to affirm and amplify feeling, and I know you can all come up with some of your own as well. Tell me more is a great one to use at first, okay, because it works most of the time. It's just great. I also included two here at the bottom that I wanted to talk about in just a little more detail. I can see how much you care about that. I see how much that matters to you. These are really important because what happens if mom is telling you with a lot of pride about something she did that you know is wrong? Right? You know it's going to happen. So for example, mom says, yes, you know, fruits and vegetables, I give him juice at every meal and snack. How are you going to affirm that? Right? So remember, we don't have to affirm incorrect content or bad nutrition messages, but we can still affirm mom. Right? So you see how those last two kind of get you out of that problem, right? Because you're not saying that's great that you're giving juice 5 times a day, but instead you're saying, I can see how much you care about your son. I can see how much it matters that your child is getting fruits and vegetables, and then you can gently go on to kind of take a different turn and maybe correct her thinking about that a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to encourage all of you to think about this. What would it be like if you walked in the clinic tomorrow or next week and you decided, I'm going to give every WIC participant I see 2 minutes of fame? We all know about the 15 minutes of fame, right? Everyone deserves at some point in their life. Well, you can give your WIC participants 2 minutes of fame every time they see you by asking one appreciative inquiry question and following that little process that we just looked at. So here's our serious appreciative inquiry summary, and then we're going to do a silly appreciative inquiry summary after that. So I'm starting on the right hand of the slide. We haven't really talked yet about when to use appreciative inquiry, and so I just want to tell you it works well pretty much almost anywhere in the WIC appointment. Anytime you notice your participant is not engaged, is distracted, is giving you one-word answers, is not looking you in the eye, etc. It's a fine time to pull out an appreciative inquiry question and see how the appointment turns around. You might decide to do it when you're walking over to check a weight, or even when you're doing a nutrition assessment and you're just not getting any answers, right? Your mom's hardly telling you anything. But the primary place, the place I'm going to encourage you to start using this is going to be right before nutrition education. It's a perfect combination. Appreciative inquiry, you get mom all warmed up, right? She's listening, she's engaged, and then you talk about some content. We know what appreciative inquiry is at this point. It's to get mom or dad to talk about present or past successes or what a future success would look like, and then we affirm and amplify the feeling she's starting to feel about the success. And then we can never forget about that 5-second pause. It's so important. Your silence allows mom or dad to think and feel. So important. Okay, so let's look on the left-hand side. Here's some example appreciative inquiry questions. Tell me one thing you're doing to gain the right amount of weight during this pregnancy. Tell me about one thing you do to make sure your son is getting iron-rich foods. So I think you're starting to notice a theme here. There's a lot of tell me one thing, right, on this slide. And I just wanted to point this out. It's another little trick. You're perfectly fine asking mom, what are you doing to gain the right amount of weight during your pregnancy? Or what are you doing to make sure your son is getting iron-rich foods? But there are a certain number of WIC moms that will give you that deer in the headlights look. When you do that, there's too much choice. So if you narrow it down even more, not tell me what you're doing, but tell me one thing you're doing, you can move these moms who have trouble identifying something, helping them focus on one little thing they're doing, and they'll give you an answer, okay? So you can say, tell me what you're doing, but if you find that mom is having trouble answering, you can just rephrase immediately, tell me one thing, and you'll find that mom will answer. Let's see, what else have we got up here? Tell me how you know when your baby is hungry and how he's had enough. I put this one up here because this is one that a lot of you are already using, but you didn't realize it was appreciative inquiry. With this question, you're helping mom focus on her abilities. How does she know? You're helping her be more confident, right? Which is what appreciative inquiry does. And then we've got, tell me one thing you do at dinner time to make sure Jonathan eats well, at snack time, fill in the blank. I like this one at the end. What makes you proudest about breastfeeding? What makes you proudest about the meals you put on the table for your family? This is kind of an appreciative inquiry shorthand. We are implying that mom is doing this, right? We're not saying, what are you doing? But we know mom is putting the food on the table. We know mom is breastfeeding, right? And so then we're getting right to the heart of the matter, the feeling. And we're asking her to think about what makes her proud. And these questions work really well. They're fun to do. Okay, now we're going to do a silly summary of appreciative inquiry. And I'm going to need all of you, I'm going to need all of your help. I'm going to need you to participate here, all right? So appreciative inquiry helps our WIC participants see differently, talk about success, connect the dots between their actions and a positive health outcome, and feel energized and confident. Okay, now we're going to learn the hand motions to that. And I'm not sure with the mic exactly how I'm going to be able to do this.
Can we hold it?
Yeah, do it. Okay, so you can all practice with me. We'll do this a couple of times. You can all practice with me. We'll do this a couple of times, all right? So, great, okay. So, appreciative inquiry helps our WIC participants see differently, talk about their success, connect the dots between their actions and a positive health outcome, and feel confident and energized. All right? So that's it. So we'll run through it a couple more times, and then if you're feeling confident about this, we'll break the room in half and we'll see which side can do it a little better. We'll have a contest, okay? So let's practice a couple times. Everyone say the words with me and do the hand motions, okay? Appreciative inquiry helps our WIC participants see differently, talk about success, connect the dots between their actions and a positive health outcome, and feel confident, energized. Okay, let's do it one more time. Everyone ready? Here we go. Appreciative inquiry helps our WIC participants see differently, talk about success, connect the dots, their actions, and a positive health outcome. Feel confident and energized. Yay! That was awesome, guys. That was great. So do you want to do the appreciative inquiry face-off, or do we have it? You want to do it one more time? All right, this side. So that would be these two tables, and then these gals here on this side. Let's go ahead and see what you've got, and then we'll have the other side of the room do it. All right? So here we go. Appreciative inquiry. See differently. Talk about success. Connect the dots, their actions, positive outcomes. All right, nice work, nice work. And let's have the other side of the room. Let's see what you've got. So, appreciative inquiry. You got it. So that will help you remember what appreciative inquiry is all about. Nice, nice work. Oh, it's not going. All right, so let's go ahead, and we only have a few more minutes, so I'm going to zip through these last few slides. I wanted to give you an example of what the conversation would sound like at the WIC clinic and how it would very nicely flow into nutrition education. All right, so the next two slides are going to show you that. So you are the beautiful WICette there at the desk, and you say, tell me one thing you're doing so Marisa has healthy snacks. And then you pause. And a really long pause, and it's really uncomfortable, but you do it anyway. And then after about 5 seconds, Mom says, I give her fruit or carrot sticks sometimes for snacks. And that's all she says. And you can see she's a little tentative, right? She's almost looking anxious because she just talked about a success, and no one ever asked her to talk about success. So you want to amplify that feeling. So then you go ahead and you affirm and you say, great. How does it feel knowing that with all the junk out there, you're making the effort to give her fruits and vegetables? And you pause again. And then Mom, finally, she starts to relax. She begins to smile because she's starting to feel it. And she talks more and she says, really good. Sometimes it takes more time, but her health is important. All right, so that's how that would look like at the clinic. And then at that point, Mom is in the palm of your hand. All right? She is feeling good. She's feeling confident. She's got more energy. She just has this recent memory of talking about a success. And so then it's very easy and natural to go into nutrition education. And I've given you 2 examples here. You can say, is there anything else you'd like to start doing for her for meal or snack time? So the snack time's going really well. Is there anything else you want to do for snack time? Or the other way you could go is there anything that isn't going as well as snack time that I can help you with? And if you did that without doing all that appreciative inquiry first, you may not get any answer at all, right? But because you asked her that question, she talked about success, she's in the palm of your hand, these work really well, and Mom's gonna give you an answer. She's going to talk. And she's going to feel more confident as she does so. Okay, so the final thing that we're going to look at is going to help you get ready to go ahead and do the activities in the breakout session. And I just wanted to mention in the breakout sessions that you'll be doing these in groups of 2 and 4, and we will not be reporting back as a large group. So you can relax. Anyone who doesn't like reporting back in those large group situations, we're not going to be doing that. You're going to be working in these small 2 and 4 person groups for the breakout. But you'll need to know this to do those activities. Okay. So the early childhood obesity prevention messages, you know you're going to hear a lot more about that later today. Tracy's going to be doing that. I wanted to talk just a little bit about appreciative inquiry and how you can use it with these ECOT messages. Because I know what it's like to go to an all-day training and none of the presenters mention how their topic fits or combines with any of the other topics, and then you have to figure out how to do it when you go back to your desk. And I don't want that for you. So we're going to talk about it right now so you have some idea of how appreciative inquiry and the ECOT messaging can be used together or work together. So here's the message that I chose for my example. There's no power like parent power. Eat well and move more to care for yourself and your family. And there are 2 reasons that I chose this message. One is that, doesn't it have a sense of appreciative inquiry already? I mean, appreciative inquiry is about helping Mom feel more confident, right? So she'll attempt a change. And look at this message. It's beautiful. It's reminding Mom that she has power, right? She can make a difference. The other reason I chose this message is because the target is interconception moms. And I know that we all know when we think about our interconception moms, our postpartum moms, right? And also our moms who are there, maybe they're not on WIC themselves, but they have a 3 or 4-year-old. We know that we seem to just run out of time, right? We're always talking about the child or the baby. There's so much to say about starting solids, about breastfeeding, and we know deep down, right, that we just don't talk to mom very much about her own health, about her own eating, about her own exercise. And so I wanted to use this particular example to remember to highlight something that you have in your packets. And I'm going to go ahead and hold that up right now. Okay, so this is a wonderful, you've got these in your packets. So this is a wonderful handout that Mandy from the state office did for you. And it'll help you get started. Now you'll have a resource, something to give mom that helps her focus on her health. And we don't have time really to go over this right now, but I encourage all of you to look at it when you get back to your desks. I talked to Mandy about some of the wording, and there are some great appreciative inquiry types of questions and messaging in this. So it will all make sense and it will all fit together for you. And I think personally that it's wonderful to have a new resource to give to our moms, our postpartum moms, even our moms who maybe aren't on the WIC program but have a 3 or 4-year-old, something to give them to help them focus on their own eating and exercise behavior. And I believe that you will be getting more information about interconception moms, possibly later today, certainly upcoming in the next year, as far as I understand. Okay, so this is what I promised. I promised I'd show you how does appreciative inquiry and ECOT, how can you use them together? This is a busy slide, but I'm going to make it really easy for you. Appreciative inquiry is like chocolate. It works almost anywhere, okay? We love it almost anywhere. All right, okay, I'm going to say a little more about the slide, but really that's how good appreciative inquiry is. So we can go ahead, if you look to the left, we can use it before part of an ECOT message. And if we do it that way, it's kind of like the warm-up band, right? And you just saw an example of that. So we use the appreciative inquiry, mom's more engaged, she's listening, she's participating. And then you can tell mom a little piece of one of the early childhood obesity prevention messages, and she'll be receptive. Okay, so that's a great way to use it. Now we're going to look there at the bottom. Another way to use it is to tell mom a short piece of one of the early childhood obesity prevention messages, not the whole thing, right, they're long, but a short piece of it. And if that's all we did, what would that be? It would be information dumping, right? Just out of the blue, we just give mom a bunch of information. But if you follow it with an appreciative inquiry question or a motivational interviewing question, which I'll show you later on after the break, then suddenly you've personalized it. You've made it meaningful to mom, and she can start to think about how she would use that content from that sentence or two from the message that you told her in her own life. Okay, so you can use it before a piece of the message. You can use it after a piece of the message. The third way I'm going to show you here is you can take two pieces of the ECOT message, the content, and you can roll them into an appreciative inquiry question. So just by asking the question, you can actually teach mom something about the early childhood obesity prevention message. So look at this. The point that we're teaching mom is in green at the top in the box. It's the supporting point to the message. Your child learns by watching you take frequent walks and eat plenty of fruits and vegetables, and your child will too. So how can we convey that content with a simple appreciative inquiry question? Look at that. All we need to do is say, what do you do now that sets a great example for your child related to eating fruits and vegetables? You see how that works? We're connecting the dots in mom's head. Mom maybe hasn't been thinking about how what she does sets an example, right? And an example for what? The ECOT message is talking about eating fruits and vegetables, and that your child learns by watching you. So we can simply convey some of this information in a beautiful appreciative inquiry question. So what are you doing now, Mom, that sets a great example for your child related to eating fruits and vegetables? You see how that works? Okay, last one, and then we're going to the breakout. And this is a piece of what you're going to be doing in the breakout session. So it's that same supporting point to the message, and I'm going to show you how to do appreciative inquiry first, and then follow it with a little extra piece of information from the early childhood obesity prevention message. Okay, so your question to mom: what healthy choices related to eating fruits and vegetables does your child see you make? And then let's say mom goes ahead and she answers. Right? And then you respond, because remember, we want to amplify the feeling, right? So you respond, broccoli, carrots, green peppers, squash, because that's what mom just said. Okay. Such variety, that's fantastic. And mom is starting to feel it. You appreciate her success. You appreciate what she's doing. And then it's a perfect time, because you've just done the warm-up, and mom is right there in the palm of your hand, and she's listening, and then you can add another little piece of information. So mom's doing a nice job with the fruits and vegetables. Maybe she needs a little information about the walks. So you might follow with, you know, did you know that if you take frequent walks and choose to be active instead of watching TV, your child will too? There's no power like parent power. You see how you work in a little piece of that ECOT message after you've done that warm-up act and mom is ready and listening. All right, so you're going to use that in the break. We'll be here to give you a hand if you need any help. And Vanessa is going to go ahead and take over and lead you through your 2 break activities. So it's your turn now.
Okay, so we've got 2 exercises for you to do. And the first one, you get to practice being a success detective. So we're going to break into pairs. So look to your right. That's your partner. And if you're at the end, you might have to go around and find someone. Okay, so we've got some responses from you from the 2013 Regional Training Survey. So some of you have already kind of practiced this, and you'll be extra prepared for this exercise. And so why are we doing this? What's the big deal? Why? We're doing this so you can feel the power, how it feels to do the appreciative inquiry and be on the giving and receiving ends of this. So remember that appreciative inquiry helps us connect 2 things, the positive experience or action and something else. So for right now with this exercise, you're going to be connecting the positive action and work. Whereas with our WIC participants, with the WIC participants, you'll connect them with the positive action and their health. Okay, so I want you to get out the little sheet here that's what kinds of questions does a success detective ask. So we're going to give a couple minutes for one person to ask, and then the other person will answer, and then you'll switch. Okay? I'll let you know when you switch. Go ahead. Remember, don't forget for that pause, that 5-second can be awkward pause. All right, so what I want you to do next is you are looking at that one side of the paper. Good job, guys, being the success detective. I'll turn over to the other side of the paper. So what was it like being a success detective? Did you notice a change in how you were feeling? Well, I could tell by standing here there was an elevated mood. So you might have more energy, elevated mood, positive feeling. Just how did it feel to talk about your success? Were you being listened to and supported? Remember, that's one key thing that Nora pointed out. We need to be fully listening to the participant while they talk about their success, or they won't get the benefit of it. They won't feel energized and confident. So we want to make sure we do that. Let's see here. So as Nora was saying, you get both sides. So it's going to make the participant feel good, but it also makes you feel good too. Okay? So let's move on to the next, part 2 of the exercise. In this one, let's get in groups of 4. So just find another pair. Okay? This exercise is going to help connect the dots between the counseling techniques that we've talked about and the early childhood obesity prevention messages you're going to hear about later today. We're going to practice using the appreciative inquiry and these messages. So I want you to flip or find the sheet that talks about ECOT messages, healthy eating and staying active while you are pregnant matters for you and your baby's health. And I'm going to read the exercise instructions here. Let me see here. Flip to the right page for me. So how might you use appreciative inquiry with the ECOT messages? You're going to hear a lot more from Tracy later. The ECOT messages are designed to help prevent early childhood obesity, which is obviously something we all agree is very important. We don't want this message to fall on deaf ears. We don't want to try delivering these important messages to moms who are distracted or resistant or just not engaged in the conversation at all. So you're going to practice using these techniques to help participants feel more engaged and receptive to these new ECOT messages that we'll be sharing with you later. So get into the groups of 4, and then there's that sheet there. Did you guys find it? It should say the ECOT message. It should be in your packet there, and there's 3 different questions. The first one is, write an appreciative inquiry question for the following supporting points to the ECOT message. Eating well during pregnancy helps you maintain a healthy weight and gives your baby nutrients to grow and develop. And if you get a little stuck, there's a little box underneath the lines there where you write in need some help. Okay? So get in groups of 4. You can work on this in 4s.